And we are live with another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside as always by my co-host, Andrew Johnson. And Johnson, 12 weeks into the college football season, we are ever so close to figuring out who will be the 12 teams that will be competing for this year's national championship at the end of the year. And we had a little bit of a shakeup in the polls going into this week number 13. Some wild finishes on Saturday. You had an insane comeback in the SEC. You had a monster road win for another SEC team and another SEC team getting a big home win. So the SEC was pretty much the big story going into this after this past weekend. And now we go into week 13. It's not the biggest of slates going into the week. The biggest storyline is probably going to come out of the ACC. There is a big game in the Big Ten that we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show as well. But the focal point of this discussion, Johnson's going to be talking about the college football playoff rankings, because after this week, if I'm not mistaken, I'll do my math real quickly. I believe after this week, there are only two more rankings left in the regular season, and then it'll be, as we like to term it in college basketball, Selection Sunday, which will be December 7th. So we're getting very, very close to the end of the year.
Yeah, we're getting extremely close. And before we start the show, Nick, I have one more question for you, just like we did earlier in the NFL episode. There are a couple teams left that are undefeated: Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M. Do we get an undefeated national champion this year?
The only team I feel confident saying that right now, and I hate to say it, but it's Ohio State.
Yep, I think you're going to say that, but
yeah,
would you give the probability above or below 50%?
I would say below. And the only reason I'm saying that is because Ohio State has, it's nothing against them. It's they played Texas earlier in the season, so they faced a team that's been shaky for the most of the year. But outside of that game, they really haven't played anyone that's been of noteworthy. Their best test left is, of course, the game against Michigan. But they haven't looked like a great team this season as well.
And it is crazy, Val.
Yeah.
I think if Michigan wins that game, I think they make the college football playoffs.
They absolutely do. They have to.
No, it's a crazy game that Michigan, even though, spoiler alert, they're the 18th team out, they win that game, they're going to put a rocket on and make the playoffs. So
100%.
A lot on the line here the next couple of weeks.
Because remember also, Michigan right now with 2 losses on the season, but keep in mind, one of those losses in conference play, if they were to beat Ohio State, then they would play Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. So you have to remember that too. I think they would play. Actually, I don't know, because they lost to USC. I'm not sure what the tiebreaker would be with that.
Oh, nevertheless, there's a path open for them.
The path is there. I don't know what the tiebreaker would be. Let's say if USC was a one-loss conference opponent. If Oregon is the one loss, then I don't know what the tiebreaker is between Indiana, Oregon, and Michigan.
Imagine talking to someone in 2003 that USC and Michigan be playing each other in the Big Ten and possibly for a chance in the Big Ten championship. They look at you like you'd have 15 heads.
Yeah. But yeah, it's tough because you look at the 3 undefeated. So Ohio State's looked great. Indiana had that big scare against Penn State last week. They had a bye week, or I shouldn't say last week, 2 weeks ago. Had a bye week last week. They're 11-0. They're going to be in the Big Ten championship. A&M having a monster scare this past weekend. They were down 30-3 in that game against South Carolina, and they pull off one of the crazier comebacks we've seen in recent memory. They win the game outright, 31-30. Stay unbeaten. We spoke about this a couple weeks back when they played LSU, I think it was, where if you win that game, you don't have a hiccup, you're still in. They almost had the hiccup because if they had lost this game and let's say had lost to Texas, they're probably not in the CFP. There's a really good shot that it'll make the CFP. And thankfully, they didn't have the hiccup. They won the game. And they, barring unforeseen circumstances against Sanford, they'll be into the playoff. The question is going to be, are they going to be into the SEC championship game? Because I don't know what the tiebreaker is. If they lose one game to Texas and then you have one loss A&M, one loss Georgia, one loss Ole Miss, one loss Bama. I'm not sure what the tiebreaker scenario would be at the end of the day.
So here's my question, Nick. If A&M loses the next 2 games and doesn't even have a chance to play in the SEC championship game, do they make it?
Well, they lose to Sanford. They have. I mean, they're. I mean,
it's a question because listen, even though this is a less than 1% chance scenario,
yeah,
you have to kind of talk about it. You have to at least mention it. They're not going to lose to Sanford, but you have to at least.
I think if they were to lose, unless they lose to Texas, again, I don't know what the tiebreaker is. That's the problem because I don't know if they would make it if they lose that game to Texas because you have Georgia, Ole Miss, and Bama also with 1 loss. So it's like I don't know exactly what the scenario is if you have 4 1-loss SEC teams. Like I don't know exactly what that entails. If they still make the championship game despite losing, then yeah, I mean, of course, if they win the SEC championship game, then it doesn't matter. They'll make it. But if they lose both, I don't know if they necessarily make it because I don't know what the tiebreaker is and the scenario is for that. Could try to see if I can find it, but I don't think it's going to matter much. I think they should beat Sanford, and then Texas game will definitely be tough. That will definitely be tough. After that, we had Georgia moving up to number 4. Speaking of Texas, they dominated Texas in that matchup on Saturday, 35-10 in that game. So the Bulldogs now, they move up to 4. They also benefited from another SEC team losing, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Yeah, number 5, Texas Tech. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 7, Oregon. How about Oklahoma moving up to number 8? A monster win. They once again defeat Alabama, and this time they did it on the road in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. So the Sooners now are looking like they might be in the college football playoff this season. Their final 2 games of the year, they have Missouri and then LSU. So they have a really, really, really good shot of making the CFP, barring a loss in one of those 2 games. And now for Alabama, they fall to number 10 behind number 9 Notre Dame. So Bama right now, if this season ended today, is the last team into the college football playoff in terms of non-conference champions. So the threshold for Bama right now is very thin. And their final 2 games, you have, of course, the Iron Bowl. And I don't think they play anyone of note in between that. I'm looking real quick. Eastern Illinois. So they should win that game easily. I don't know right now what their path is because, of course, they beat Georgia already this season. And I don't know right now what the tiebreaker is between them and Ole Miss. I think right now, technically, Ole Miss has the tiebreaker because they beat Oklahoma. So they would need Ole Miss to lose to Mississippi State. And they would need to be tied with Georgia in conference standings to make the SEC championship game. Otherwise, Johnson, they're going to have to just hope the committee puts them in because of what their resume is.
Scary times to trust the committee, right?
Yeah, you don't want to put the faith of the committee in your head. If I'm Notre Dame, I'm a bit scared right now. I'm a bit scared because
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to go into this in a little bit, but yeah. please elaborate.
Because even though they beat Pitt, that's by far one of their best wins. You know what they really need though? They need USC to beat Oregon this weekend. They desperately need USC to beat Oregon because then it further cements their case. Because USC, you could argue with the win over Oregon this weekend, you could argue they might be one of the last 12, one of those last teams into the playoff, or might be just on the outside looking in. So that's
I don't think they would take Oregon out of a playoff. So if they're losing the USC,
if they lose to USC, absolutely.
I don't think they would. I think if it's a 2-loss Oregon team, I don't think they'll take him out.
But they're going to probably because here's the problem. If Oregon were to lose, they fall to 2 losses. You have to probably put USC ahead of them.
Yeah, I also get it. A 2-loss team. And I'm going to mention it. Notre Dame doesn't deserve anywhere near the ranking they got. It makes no sense.
Fair. They didn't move up or move down. They stayed the exact same spot.
There's absolutely, and I guess can we just go into it? Let's recap the rest of the news and let's go into this.
Okay. I think like I said, they need USC to win. If USC loses, that makes Notre Dame's case even worse. Because then Bama benefits from it. The Big 12 schools will benefit from it because, BYU and Utah, who are on the outside right now, they'll look at it and say like this, one of us is going to make the Big 12 championship game. So as long as we win the Big 12 championship game, then we're fine because both us and Texas Tech should be in the 12-team playoff. That's not, I know how much people don't like the Big 12. I know you aren't a big fan of it as well, but you have to probably put both of those teams in if one of BYU or Utah beats Texas Tech. Miami right now, their case is tough because they don't really play another big game this season. They have Virginia Tech, and they desperately need Pitt to be ranked, in my opinion, to get there. But their chance to make the ACC championship game are beyond, shot. I think, Texas is the only 3-loss team that's going to have an opportunity, obviously, because if they beat Texas A&M, they're going to move up. And then USC, as I mentioned, if they beat Oregon, then they have to move up. And of course, if Michigan beats Ohio State, then they have to move up. Like, there's just so much narratives and storylines.
This is all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say is Notre Dame should probably be 15. If I was the committee right now, I'd put Notre Dame at 15. I don't care that Alabama lost this weekend to Oklahoma. There's absolutely there's no conceivable earth that Notre Dame is better than Alabama.
I thought Bama should be. I agree. I thought Bama should be ranked 9, and Notre Dame.
You're going to penalize Alabama to losing to Oklahoma late in the season when Notre Dame lost at A&M. They lost at Miami, and they lost home against A&M.
It has to be because Bama. I hate to say it because it was week 1, but
it's week 11.
Not even that. It's because they are probably still lingering that Florida State lost to Bama from earlier in the season. That's exactly probably why they did that.
That is complete stupidity, because if you're going to linger that from week 1 for Alabama, you have to linger for week 1 and 2 losses for Notre Dame too. I'm sorry. You just can't pick and choose this. And this is why I absolutely hate this at-large ranking stuff. It's garbage.
Like I said, I think if I'm Notre Dame, I'm not feeling good right now because you need USC to win this week. If they lose, then Bama feels better because they're saying to themselves, okay, we should be in regardless, because even if we don't make the SEC championship game, we're going to make it. But then if you're one of the Big 12 schools, you have to be feeling really good, because if you win the Big 12 championship, there's a good shot that both you and Texas Tech make it as well.
This is why I absolutely hate this, and that's why I hate Notre Dame being 9, because if USC does beat Oregon, there's 2 scenarios here, and I'm going to show you the 2 scenarios, because Notre Dame is going to make the playoffs if they win out. It's written in the stars. If they win the last couple of games against Cuse and Stanford, they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, the 2 worst teams of the ACC, they're going to win.
So it's written in the stars right now that they're going to be in the playoffs. I know they give them like a 70% chance or something like that, but no. As long as you beat Cuse and Stanford, which are at the bottom of the barrel ACC.
Let me see their odds while you
just screaming at the microphone. So this is my beef. Because if USC beats Oregon, USC has to make the playoffs, right? Like, if USC beats Oregon, they're going to beat UCLA. They're not losing to UCLA the final week of a year at home. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if that's the case,
never say never, right?
And if Oregon take care of business against Washington, right? So the scenario and assume everyone else wins out, right? Assume Ohio State wins out, Indiana, A&M, Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, all the other guys that we have making the playoffs. That I call them that core 6 right there. If nothing else changes with them, they're all going to be locked for the playoffs. Great. So then that leaves a couple spots left open. It leaves, 5 spots left plus the at-large team?
I believe so, yeah.
So then here you have 5 spots. Notre Dame's a lock, right? At 7. So that's the 7th team in the playoffs. And then you have 1 at-large team, that's 8. So you're trying to find the last 4. And if USC and Oregon both have to make the playoffs, that means one of Alabama or Oklahoma are getting left out. And it's not going to be Oklahoma, because the argument's going to be, they beat Alabama late in the season. And I don't see a scenario where Alabama would lose to Notre Dame on a neutral site field. It's preposterous. Alabama would dog walk Notre Dame by 2 touchdowns. Wouldn't even be close.
No, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to defend Notre Dame. I don't think.
I know you're not. I'm just saying the stupidity of the ranking.
No, I get the argument.
1 through 6, that's great. That's fine. I have no beef. Oregon at 7, sure, that's fine. Then you have 8, 9, 10. No, there's Notre Dame.
You don't think Oklahoma should be 8?
No, Oklahoma's fine, but it's just Notre Dame being there at 9.
Right. I agree with you.
I think again,
I thought
a team
Bama
like
should be number
Miami too,
9,
like a
and
team
Notre
like
Dame should
Miami.
be
If
10.
you're gonna take the Week 1 Alabama loss against them, if
I know.
Miami wins the next 2 games, right? If they win the next 2 games, and if they don't make the ACC championship game, they're probably not gonna make the playoffs.
And they're not gonna make the ACC
and they beat
championship.
and they beat Notre Dame. So like it makes absolutely no sense. There's so many teams that should be there ahead of Notre Dame. I would even argue Vanderbilt should be there against Notre Dame. Maybe that's just me being an SEC homer, but
I'm trying to look. Does Miami even have a path to make it? Because they're a game behind SMU, Pitt, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. They obviously lost to SMU. So SMU essentially
there's a path.
Has to lose. So here's what I think the path is. I think SMU has to lose their last 2 games in conference because they're both conference games against Louisville and Cal. So they would have to lose those last 2. Miami, of course, has to win out. And I think, as I mentioned, one of those games against Pitt, so of course that will cancel it out. So if they're tied with Pitt and they are a game up on SMU, then it comes down to what happens with Georgia Tech and Virginia. Of course, if Pitt beats Georgia Tech, then that helps Miami even much more. Because Virginia only has Virginia Tech left. And they probably should win that game, but I don't know. So I think the scenario is Miami's got to win out, of course. They need SMU to lose out, and they need Pitt to beat Georgia Tech this weekend. That's probably what has to happen. And if that all happens, then Miami beats Pitt, they move to the ACC championship game to take on Virginia, or if Virginia loses, then who knows who they take on. But that would be the probable path for Miami. And if that's the case, then they should get in because they'll be the ACC champion. And right now, they're currently scheduled to be in because they're the highest ranked conference champion, 4th ranked highest ranked conference champion. But again, their path to the ACC championship game takes a lot to get there. I'm trying to see what the odds were. I forgot what team we were talking about just a minute ago. In terms of what they'd have to do.
Miami.
Was it Miami?
It was Miami.
So let me see. So they obviously play Virginia Tech and Pitt. They win those 2 games. It really then comes down to let's say, of course, Oregon loses this week to USC. They beat Washington. They're both 10-2. I don't know. The odds are it's just weird because you can make the case for so many teams. Like I talked about it before. Texas, who's ranked 17, is a 3-loss team in the SEC, and they technically have a path because because of the A&M game. Other than that, it's open.
I guess we'll find out, Nick. I guess that's all I really have to say on this. I've said my piece, and
I know.
I would love to see 2 Group of 5 teams make it, though. I want maximum KS. I want to see North Texas make it. I want to see JMU make it.
I cannot believe they are not. They have no offense to Tulane, but how is James Madison not ranked?
I can't believe James Madison or North Texas isn't ranked.
Yeah, they put Arizona State in Houston, and Missouri.
It's crazy.
I don't get it.
It's Power 4 bias. That's what
it's so like. Look at the AP poll. James Madison is ranked ahead of Tulane in the AP, but Tulane is the Group of 5 leader.
The committee's not the smartest people on earth. We've kind
of yeah. You don't gotta tell me. I know. So before we go into the mushing hour, we do have news before that as well. If the season were to end today, the matchups would be, of course, the top 4 being Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and now Georgia. They would all get first-round byes. The first-round matchups would be the 8-9 matchup would be Oklahoma versus Notre Dame. The winner would take on Ohio State. The 10-7 matchup, Alabama and Oregon. Winner takes on Indiana. The 11-6 matchup, Miami versus Ole Miss. The winner takes on Texas A&M. And the 12-5 matchup, Tulane versus Texas Tech. Winner takes on Georgia. So that would be our matchups if the season ended today. But before we go into the mushing hour, Johnson, we did have some coaching carousel news. We have a new head coach in the ACC, and someone that has been very familiar in the college football world. James Franklin, the old Penn State head coach, is now the new head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. So, do they have some life? Do they have some life, maybe? I think this is a great spot for him.
I think this is the perfect spot for him because it's a historic program, not in the sense of Penn State, but they have a winning tradition in recent history, and they have a dormant fan base and donor base where there's going to be no pressure for him to win big games. And no offense, you're in the ACC, so there really are no big games. So
I've always told you there's no offense.
Yeah. I'm just saying in general. But yeah, I think it's a great spot for him. He's a guy that really didn't Penn State did give him a ton in NIL, and I think he'll do well without NIL there. And
I mean, look what he did with Vanderbilt and how he built that program up for a little bit. That's exactly what Virginia Tech's hoping for. He's hoping that they could build him up. And of course, for Virginia Tech, they had the years of Michael Vick, the Tyrod Taylor years. So, they want to get back to being a competitive team in the ACC, but there's no pressure, as you mentioned, for James Franklin to go for a national championship. The pressure is going to be getting this team back to winning football and maybe down the line win an ACC championship along the way. So
he's kind of like the Tibbs of college football.
I don't hate that.
That's the best way to describe him. He's a guy that's going to build your program, but he's not the guy that's going to take you all the way.
Yeah, I don't hate that take. I don't hate that. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think this is a great fit for him. We'll see if Virginia Tech gets the job done with him. And the ACC's got some great coaches right now. These last couple years in terms of hiring. So we'll see if it pays off. We'll see if it pays off for Virginia Tech if they get back in the ACC higher tier. But Johnson, let's round out our show with, of course, the mushing hour for week number 13 in the college football season. Not a very loaded slate this week. About 4 games we have on our tally this weekend. Last week for both of us, a solid week. I finally went over 500 for the first time in probably forever. A 4-4 mark for you, so still 500, and you're still 13 games over 500 on the season. So very, very remarkable mark for you this season, and I'm still trying to play catch up. Expect a lot of double picks this week. I'm telling you that right now. So anyway, let's go with our first game. Goes in the Big 12. Number 11 BYU at Cincinnati. BYU 2.5-point favorite. 54.5 the over under. BYU right now is currently the first team out of the college football playoffs, so they don't really have much room for error. They're still trying to make it into the Big 12 championship game right now, which I believe they have the tiebreaker going into it. So they would play Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. All that being said, Johnson, what do you think about this matchup between them and
Cincinnati
the Bearcats?
plus 2.5? It's a lock. Give me more chaos.
So you think Cincinnati wins outright?
Outright, but I'm going to take the points if you're going to give it to me.
Oh, man. Yeah, this is a tough game because I really don't think I really could see this being an upset. And I look at it like this for BYU after this, and I'll try to see who they play quickly. They play UCF, so they should win that game. If they win this game, they should beat UCF and they should play in the Big 12 championship. But because, no offense to BYU, because I took Utah at the beginning of the year, I'm gonna try to play spoiler as well, and I'm gonna agree with you. I'll take Cincinnati plus the 2.5, and as I mentioned, I'm gonna try to go double picks as well these in the show. So give me the over as well. It's a Big 12 game. Why not? Cincy plus 2.5 and the over in that matchup in Cincinnati. What's our next game?
Speaking of former Big 12 teams, let's talk about Oklahoma. Number 22 Missouri is going into Oklahoma to take on number 8 ranked Sooners. Oklahoma is a 7.5-point favorite at home, and over-under slip is slated at 41.5. Give me Oklahoma to cover minus 7.5.
I don't get why Missouri is ranked.
Just don't question it.
They just have not looked good. Oklahoma minus 7.5. Missouri does not deserve to be ranked. No offense to Missouri. It's just they don't deserve to be ranked over some of the group of 5 teams that we talked about. Those teams deserve to be ranked at this point. I'll take Missouri. I'll take Oklahoma minus 7.5, and it's a low total, so I'll give me the over as well in that game. Might as well. Might as well take the over too in that game, in that matchup. We then go to the ACC. This is a big important game for the ACC because of conference standings as well as the college football playoff. It is Pitt at number 16, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, a 2.5-point favorite. 62.5 is the over-under.
I would love to see Georgia Tech win this game. However, I am cheering for chaos. Give me Pitt plus 2.5.
I got a bad feeling in this game for Georgia Tech because they have not looked good. They almost lost to Boston College this past weekend. And the problem is also Pitt had that loser mentality going into their last game against Notre Dame. But they said it, that they don't really care about this game. We care about the ACC game. So they probably were looking ahead to this matchup. I'm going to agree with you on this one. I'm going to go with Pitt plus the 2.5. But I don't think I really have a double pick in this game because 62.5 points is a lot of points for me to take. So I'll just stick with Pitt plus 2.5 as my pick as well in that matchup. And then Johnson, we rounded out in the Big Ten.
And in the final game of the mushing out, we have number 15 USC at number 7 Oregon. Oregon is a 9.5-point favorite at home, and 59.5 is the slated over under. Give me USC to cover, but Oregon to win. Give me USC plus 9.5.
I'm going to take USC plus 9.5 too. And I'm trying to dare to think if I want to take them to money line as well.
Hey, you can double pick.
I'm just going to stick with the 9.5. I really think they could win this game, though. I don't think Oregon is as dominant as people thought they were at the beginning of the season. I really think this is a game that USC could get the win and get the job done. And as I mentioned, if they get the win, it helps their case, of course, but it also is going to help Notre Dame. So Notre Dame needs USC to win this game. I know, of course, you're probably going to root now for Oregon because of that being the case. But I'll stick with the Trojans plus the 9.5. I really do think they can win this game outright on the road in Eugene. That should be a good game. Hopefully it is, because as I mentioned, it's a very short slate and after we had a nice loaded slate last week. So we'll see how this week does going into week number 13. But that about does it for this week's show. Johnson, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Go Aggies.
Go Aggies. Go Aggies indeed. Tough couple weeks coming up for a lot of teams in college football. They're trying to make it to the college football playoffs, so we'll see if the Aggies can win that SEC championship game and further cement themselves as one of those 1 seeds in the college football playoff. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. We are getting ever so close to the end of this regular season. As I mentioned earlier in the show, there are only 2 more selection shows for the college football playoff before we get to December 7th, which is Selection Sunday. And at that day, we will know the 12 teams playing for this year's college football national championship. Big games this week: BYU, Cincinnati, Missouri, Oklahoma, Pitt, Georgia Tech, USC, and Oregon. We will recap all of those games as well as recapping the next installment of the college football playoff rankings next week here on the show. For Nicholas Pavone and Andrew Johnson, this has been the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Have a great rest of your week.